The middle of your novel can often feel like the most challenging part of the writing process. It's commonly referred to as the muddled middle or the dreaded middle, and many writers find themselves stuck here, struggling to push through to the end. If you've ever felt this way, you're not alone. Most writers, even season 1, find that the middle is the hardest part to write. Today, we're going to explore why the middle can be such a challenge and offer practical tips for both drafting and revising this part of your story. Whether you're currently stuck in the middle of your draft or preparing to revise, these strategies will help you push through and make your middle as engaging as the beginning and end of your novel. The middle of a novel, or Act 2, is where many stories lose momentum. It's the longest section of your book, packed with character development, plot twists, and emotional growth. But it's also where pacing issues often crop up, and where it can feel like your story is spinning its wheels. In story structure terms, the middle is the section where the main conflict deepens and your protagonist faces a series of challenges that push them toward change. This is the part of the book where the promise of the premise is delivered what your readers came for. For instance, in The Hunger Games, the middle is when Katniss enters the arena and the actual games begin. This is where readers get what they've been waiting for: survival, alliances, and betrayal. But while the middle is crucial, it's easy to get lost here. Your story might feel like it's dragging, or you might find yourself throwing too many conflicts at your characters without moving the plot forward. Finding the right balance between action and reflection, and between conflict and resolution, is key to a successful middle.
Hi and welcome in our channel Alive Inc. If you like this video, please don't forget to subscribe for our future videos, and thank you very much in advance.
The fun and games section. One of the most important beats in the middle is the fun and games beat, also known as the promise of the premise. This is the part of the story where you give readers exactly what they came for: the fun stuff. It's the part of the Hunger Games where the action heats up. Or in a romance novel, it's where the characters are getting to know each other, navigating attraction, and facing the external and internal conflicts that keep them apart. In this section, your protagonist is thrown into the heart of the conflict, and they begin to take action. It's the part where they explore the world of the story and face the challenges that will shape them for the rest of the book. If you don't deliver on this promise, your readers will feel disappointed. After all, this is what they signed up for. But while the fun and games section is essential, you don't want to linger here too long. If you pile on too much action or conflict without moving the story forward, your pacing will suffer. This is where many writers struggle, as it's easy to get caught up in the excitement and lose sight of the larger story arc. Balance is key. Enough action to keep readers engaged, but not so much that the story feels repetitive or overwhelming. Pacing the middle. Pacing is one of the biggest challenges in the middle of a novel. Act 2 is the longest section of your book, and it needs to maintain a delicate balance between action and reflection. Too much action can make the story feel chaotic, while too much reflection can make it drag. You want to keep your readers turning the pages, but you also want to give them time to absorb what's happening. A good way to approach pacing in the middle is to think of it as a series of hills and valleys. After a moment of high tension or action, give your characters and your readers a moment to breathe. Let them reflect on what's happened and what it means for the story. Then build up to the next peak of tension. This push and pull dynamic keeps the story moving forward without overwhelming the reader. If you find that your middle is dragging, it might be because you're spending too much time on reflection and not enough on action. On the other hand, if the pacing feels to rush, you might need to slow down and let your characters process what's happening. Finding the right balance is often something that happens in revision, so don't worry if you don't get it perfect on the first draft. The series of unfortunate events. Another common issue in the middle of a novel is what I like to call the series of unfortunate events. This is when one bad thing after another happens to your characters, and it starts to feel repetitive. While it's important to put obstacles in your character's way, too much conflict without progress can make the story feel like it's stalling. In a romance, for example, too many misunderstandings or external obstacles can start to feel contrived. Your readers might get frustrated if it feels like the characters aren't making any progress in their relationship. The same goes for other genres. If your protagonist keeps getting knocked down without learning or growing, the story can start to feel monotonous. The key to avoiding this pitfall is to make sure that each conflict or obstacle serves a purpose. It should push your character toward change, force them to make difficult choices, or reveal something new about them. And remember the rule of threes. 3 obstacles are often enough to keep the story moving without overwhelming the reader. Asking and answering questions. One of the best ways to keep readers engaged in the middle of your novel is by asking and answering questions. Each chapter should leave your readers with a question. What's going to happen next? How will the protagonist overcome this challenge? What's the next clue in the mystery? These questions keep your readers turning the pages, eager to find out the answers. But it's not enough to just keep asking questions, you also need to answer them. If your story is all questions and no answers, your readers will start to get frustrated. Make sure that for every new question you introduce, you're also resolving others. This balance between asking and answering questions is what keeps the story feeling satisfying, even in the middle. The midpoint turn, the midpoint of your novel, is a crucial moment in the story. It's often a major twist or turning point that changes the direction of the plot. This is where the stakes are raised, and the protagonist is forced to confront a new reality. It's the moment where everything changes, either for better or for worse. After the midpoint, the story should start building toward the climax. This is the moment where the protagonist has to take action, and the choices they make will determine the outcome of the story. The midpoint turn is often the point where the protagonist realizes that they've been going about things the wrong way, and they need to change their approach. Reflection and growth. In the middle of your novel, it's important to give your characters time to reflect and grow. Every time they face a new obstacle or learn new information, they should take a moment to process what it means for them and their journey. This reflection is what drives character growth and makes the story feel emotionally satisfying. But be careful not to spend too much time on reflection, as it can slow down the pacing. Instead, use short moments of introspection to show how your characters are evolving, then push them forward into the next challenge. This balance between action and reflection is what keeps the middle of your novel feeling dynamic and engaging. Dramatization versus narration. One final tip for revising the middle of your novel is to pay attention to the balance between dramatization and narration. Dramatization is when you show events unfolding in real time, while narration is when you summarize or describe events. Both have their place in a novel, but it's important to use them wisely. If you find that certain scenes in the middle are dragging, it might be because you're over-dramatizing them. Instead of showing every detail, consider summarizing some events through narration. On the other hand, if certain moments feel flat, you might need to dramatize them more, showing the emotional stakes and character growth in real time. Conclusion: the middle of your novel may be the most challenging part to write, but with the right strategies, it can also be one of the most rewarding. By focusing on pacing, balancing action and reflection, and keeping your readers engaged with questions and answers, you can turn the muddled middle into a powerful and engaging part of your story. So, the next time you find yourself stuck in the middle, remember, it's all part of the process. Keep pushing forward, and soon enough, you'll reach the thrilling climax of your novel. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. And see you all in the next video.